Here's a tale that's a real hair-raiser. It ought to rate tops with you. I call it Dead Weight. The tropic night hung over the island like a wet blanket, hot and oppressive. From out across the black Pacific, a faint breeze stirred, moving lazily through the towering cocoa-nut palms. The plantation house lay silent beneath the starry sky. Suddenly, 2 shots rang out. Red Buckley stood over the prostrate body of his former boss, the plantation owner, Emile Duval. A tiny wisp of smoke drifted upwards from the black muzzle of the automatic that Red held firmly in his hand, still pointed at the dead French planter. That takes care of you, Duval. Now for the pearl. Behind the red-headed murderer, a small coal-black native watched in the shadows, watching with wide eyes. Buckley stepped over Duval's body and moved to a small safe in the wall of the plantation house. Now, right, 10, left to 6, right again to 10. The door of the safe opened, and Red reached in. 4 years I've waited, 4 years, and now it's mine. Red held up the velvet black sphere so that the light from the kerosene lamp danced over its gleaming surface. Finally, the black pearl is mine. Look at it, Kulu. There is no pearl in the whole world like this one. The cowering native stared at the pearl from his hiding place in the shadows. The whites of his eyes shone brightly, reflecting the glow of the flickering lamp. Oh, what are you frightened of, Kulu? Duval is dead. Stop cringing like a frightened monkey. Come out of there. Here, look at it. My black pearl. The native shuffled forwards, his eyes glued to the small black sphere that Red held between his fingers. He studied it for a moment, then he exclaimed, Come, Mr. Buckley, we go now. Boat ready. We go. Hurry, hurry. Yeah, Kulu, let's go. My business here is finished. Red took a last look at the dead planter, spat, and followed the native out the door. The 2 figures moved silently down to the beach, where a native outrigger canoe was pulled up on the white sand. Got enough food and water, Kulu? Yassa, Misa. Got plenty. Buckley climbed into the outrigger and Kulu shoved off into the oncoming surf. Well, Kulu, in 3 days we'll be in Bangai and I'll be catching that steamer, eh? 3 days, Yassa, Misa Buckley. As the outrigger skimmed over the crests of the oncoming breakers, Red watched the flickering lights of the plantation house fade into the night. It had been 4 years ago that he'd first seen the lights of the plantation shining through the mist. There she is, Monsieur Buckley. That is my plantation. Looks okay, Mr. Duval. Red had waited 3 months in Bangai for Duval to show up. He'd spent almost a year tracing the fabulous black pearl to this French planter. You sure he'll be here? It's been almost 3 months. I'm telling you, Mr. Buckley, Duval comes down here from his island to buy provisions regularly. I don't understand why he ain't been here. Oh, there he comes now. Red had approached the jovial-looking Frenchman and introduced himself. So, Monsieur Buckley, and what can I do for you? I'd like a job, Mr. Duval. I'll do anything. Duval had been thrilled at having another white man on the island with him. He'd jumped at the chance. Chess, Duval? Oh, yeah, I play a fair game. Oh, you are hired, monsieur. Duval's plantation was located on one of the many islands that made up the group known as the Soelas. The plantation itself was worked by natives of the surrounding islands. It is good to have a white man on my shore again. It's good to be here, Duval. Duval had been sick with some tropical disease. That was why he'd been detained getting down to Bangai, and that was why he'd hired Red. The fever left him weak. Red could take over the physical work of running the plantation for him. You've got to be tough on these natives, monsieur. They are lazy. Don't worry, Duval. I'll make 'em toe the line. Duval and Buckley had become quite friendly in the year that followed. Finally, one night, Red had worked the conversation around to precious gems. Give me an emerald any time, Duval. That's real beauty. No, monsieur. You have not seen real beauty until you have seen a black pearl. Black pearl, Duval? You've seen one? Oui, monsieur. I have seen one. Buckley tried to pump Duval, but the old Frenchman clammed up. That was all he'd say about the black pearl Red was sure he owned. Then, one night... Who's out there? Come out of those bushes or I'll shoot. No shoot, Misa. That'd been Kulu. He'd been hanging around Buckley's bungalow. What were you doing out there? Me no harm, missa. Wanna be houseboy, servant, anything to you, missa. Kulu pleaded with Red to let him stay. He wanted to be Red's servant. Red had finally given in. Okay, Kulu, you can stay, but keep out of my hair, see? Yassa, missa, yassa! It was after 2 years of hard work that Red had finally worked himself into Duval's confidence. One night the old Frenchman gave out. You asked me once if I ever saw a black pearl, monsieur. You remember? Yeah, Duval, I remember. Well, monsieur, not only have I seen one, I own one. You do? Where? Let me see it. Oh, no, monsieur, the pearl is worth a fortune. We are 2 men alone on this island. It would be foolish for me to tell you where I keep it. Not that I don't trust you. Oh, yeah, I don't blame you, Duval. I'd do the same thing. Forget it. Another year had gone by before Red had finally found out. You see that picture up there on the wall, monsieur? Yeah. Behind it is a safe. That is where I keep the black pearl. Gee, Duval, I'd really like to see it. No, monsieur. Temptation is a great... Tell you what, Duval, you hold a gun on me all the while. Then I won't try anything. Duval had fallen for it. He'd gone to the safe, loaded gun in hand, and taken out the black pearl. It's beautiful, Duval. Looks like it's worth a fortune. At least $250,000, monsieur. But Red had gotten the information he wanted. He memorized the combination of the safe. Now all that was left was to make arrangements for a getaway. What would I do, Kulu, if I wanted to get away from this place and get to Bangai? Take Mr. Duval's motor launch, Mr. Buckley. That's how we go all the time. No, Kulu. I mean if I wanted to get to Bangai secretly, without attracting attention. I could take you there in native canoe, Missa. Trip long, 3 days maybe. Everything was set. Red had waited for the annual steamer to come to Bangai. Then, 4 days before... Get that outrigger, Kulu. We'll need it tonight. Yes, Missa. And now it was over. Red had the pearl, and Kulu was paddling him towards Bangai. The lights of Duval's plantation were gone now. Look at it, Kulu. There is no pearl in the whole world like this one. And I worked long, too. 4 years to get it. Kulu remained silent. He stared out over the vast expanse of water as Red raved on. I don't know why you hung around as long as you did, Kulu. I treated you pretty rough sometimes. Kulu did not answer. Up ahead, dancing lights pinpointed the gloom. What's the matter, Kulu? You sore at me? Don't worry, I'll pay you off in Bangai. I'll take good care of you. Huh? Faintly, but growing ever steadily louder, the throb of drums drifted across the tossing black expanse. What's that, Kulu? Drums? Native drums? We're headed towards them! Kulu, where are you taking me? The island loomed up before them. The fires lit up the beach, illuminating the gleaming, dancing figures. Buckley spun around. Kulu stood over him, the machete in his hands, reflecting the firelight. Kulu, my God! What are you gonna do? I wait long time too, Mr. Buckley. The gleaming steel blade came down with lightning speed, severing Red Buckley's head from his shoulders, cutting short his blood-curdling shriek. Ah! The grinning natives gathered around Kulu as he held the head with the red hair high for all of them to see, and as they ogled at it, he bragged in his native tongue. Kan po kana eko natame, de la socran on ulta soelas nan tanko. Yep, kiddies, that's the story. Red didn't use his head. If he had, he would have realized that he and Kulu were working the same racket, getting into a position of trust in order to get something they wanted. Well, they both succeeded. Only Kulu was just a little ahead of the game. And now, I'll turn you over to that hag, the old witch, for her horror yarn.